asking advice is the single best compliment you can give someone because it tells them that you respect them, and then they'll give it to you. Everyone wants to help. People want to help you. You just have to be willing to ask.
You know, we talked to a number of large organizations, established companies here during these interviews. What about companies that are relatively new to the scene, just a few years old? We're going to sit down with Kirby from ESTAT to hear what their journey has been like so far. Kirby, good to chat with you.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
And it's funny, when the Pittsburgh Robotics team was telling me about ESTAT, I'm like, wait a second, I've talked to them before. And it was 2 years ago, you were part of a startup competition at A3's Automate conference in Detroit.
That's right.
And I mean, you did really well in that competition, correct?
Yeah, we won. We got to hold the big $10,000 check. It was very exciting.
Yeah, I thought you won. I didn't want to say it just to make sure I wasn't, because that would be a bummer if I were wrong, right? But
yeah.
No, I remember that. So I guess the first question is, as a newer entrant to the industry, how have things been going since that time? How have the past 2 years? What's been the focus for ESTAT?
No, it's funny that you bring up Automate and then follow it with that question, because Automate is my favorite kind of milestone for how ESTAT has progressed. The first year, PRN gave us a cocktail-sized table in their booth to showcase our prototypes. And when we showed people, we said, look how amazing this is. Oh, don't touch it there, you might get shocked. It was just very early prototypes straight out of university. The next year, 2023, we won the Startup Challenge. The year after that, we showcased with PRN again and developed 4 strategic partnerships right there at Automate. And that was in a 10x10 booth. So we went in 3 years from a cocktail table to strategic partnerships, one of which is public that I can share, which is Schneeberger.
Very cool.
They make linear motion components, and we met them right there at Automate, and they remembered us from the challenge. So it was really a springboard for us.
No kidding. Well, I like that evolution that it came in steps as well, because a lot of people think these things happen overnight, right? But you had that little booth there. You had that. Would it be fair to say it was a minimum viable product in 2022, and then it evolved from there?
No, it was minimum viable prototype. NV little p.
Yeah.
Then we had minimum viable product for the Startup Challenge. Now we have a catalog of components and a number of partners looking at white labeling moving forward.
Yeah, and I think as if we're having a beverage with one another in the simplest terms, describe what ESTAT does. It's electric glue, correct?
Yes, we make electric glue. It's glue that sticks when it's on, releases when it's off. A lot of people ask, is it like a magnet? And behaviorally, we can say yes, in that if you turn on an electromagnet, it sticks, you turn it off, it releases. But fundamentally, it's a very different phenomenon. So if you've ever rubbed a balloon on your head and stuck it to the ceiling, it's the same thing in play, but we have much better materials. So we take these electroadhesives that consume 1,000 times less energy than magnets and build them into clutches, brakes, locks, and latches for mainly robotics applications, but we're doing more and more in aerospace, injury prevention, and consumer electronics. So essentially, anywhere that you want to make and break a connection in a controllable way is a great place to use electric glue. And we've built that electric glue into a lot of the kind of standard components that you can bolt into a robotic assembly.
Yeah. Well, one question I want to ask you, and I think this kind of ties everything together here, is how has having a community like the Pittsburgh Robotics Network, how has that been a part of your success and your evolution? You mentioned that's where you kind of started back in 2022. That was your first foot in the door at Automate. Tell us how that's helped you over the past 3 years, and really what kind of characterizes the Pittsburgh community in general.
Sure. So I think PRN has been a wonderful kind of node in our network to become connected with so many different groups. So from helping us out as a startup that didn't have enough money for a booth at Automate, that allowed us to kind of get out there. And then they also host a lot of networking events where we meet customers, where we meet potential investors, where we meet other startups who are going through the same things that we're going through, and we can kind of band together and work things through. So PRN is just really a fantastic mechanism to connect with other people. It's a network of opportunity. And then Pittsburgh in general. I absolutely love Pittsburgh. I grew up in New Mexico. When I moved here, it felt like the city of the future.
Okay.
There were self-driving cars everywhere. And I was just a student at Carnegie Mellon, but I knew that Pittsburgh was someplace special. And since being here for grad school, I spent 2 years in the Bay Area out in San Francisco working in surgical robotics. And that is also an amazing place, but it is a polite place, not a friendly place.
Okay.
Everyone's really spread out. It's also very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's crowded. Whereas Pittsburgh is just hands down friendly. Everyone wants to help one another. And it has a lot of the same resources. PCB manufacturers, casting houses, injection molding. Like whatever you need for your business, you can find it here. And I think for a startup, it's really incredible because it has a lot of the same like tech accelerators that are available in the Bay, but without the expense of a lease in the Bay. So it's better for businesses and then also better for personnel because you can work in tech and afford a house.
Yeah.
And there's, whatever resource we need, we have it here in Pittsburgh.
So you've found the right city that has the right resources. You've aligned with the community. You're active in the robotics community here. As a last question, what advice would you give other young companies that are trying to get their technology out of the lab and into the real world and ultimately successfully growing a company?
I think the single best piece of advice I have is that asking for advice is a superpower. One of our investors told us, if you want money, ask for advice. If you want advice, ask for money. And and this is true in all walks of life and in all fields. Like asking advice is the single best compliment you can give someone because it tells them that you respect them, and then they'll give it to you. Everyone wants to help. People want to help you. You just have to be willing to ask. So I think the number one thing to do is be willing to ask. Be willing to let people know what your problems are. And be willing to share help with people when they come to you. And success kind of just all comes from working hard and being willing to ask for help.
I love the way you summarize that. I think that's super actionable for the folks out there. Kirby, it was great reconnecting with you after a couple years here, and congratulations on the success that ESTAT's continuing to see. Looking forward to seeing more from you in the future as well.
Great, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Cheers.
Cheers.